All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show down here in 49er land on a Wednesday. And an exciting day down here. 49ers practicing, getting ready for their game against Jacksonville. The big story of the day is that Steve Wilks will go back to, or will go from the booth to the sideline starting this week. Kyle Shanahan made that announcement during his presser on Wednesday. And as far as, it's funny, Kyle talked about it and he said, his preference was always to be in the booth over being on the sideline. But they would like to get some dialogue going between the players and open those lines of communications between the players and Steve Wilks. So the rest of Steve's coaches that normally are in the booth will remain in the booth, but Steve himself will be on the sideline for the 49er game in Jacksonville on Sunday. This is a significant story just from the standpoint of, it's a little bit of a surprise in that, I would think that they would want Steve to decide where he wants to be. But you get the sense that obviously there seems to be a disconnect maybe between the front and the coverage. There seems to be the 49ers are not getting home on the passer, and the coverage at times has been too soft. And if the streamlining of the communication from the booth to the field can be improved so that Steve is now talking directly with Chris and with the players on the sideline, maybe that's a positive. So that's really the big story down here in Santa Clara, is that Steve Wilks will jump from the coach's booth where he's been on the headsets and where he is, many defensive backfield or coaches that have a defensive backfield history oftentimes like to sit with the bird's eye view. Why? Because they can see the coverage. They can see the coverage and be able to diagnose problems quicker. I would think that they would want Steve to be where he's most comfortable. And I would imagine that would be in the booth. But it sounds like either their players have expressed an opinion that they feel like the communication isn't ideal, or they feel like the communication would be improved if Steve were on the field with the players. And so he's going to move this week at least to the field from the booth. And very interesting. You look around the league, Dan Quinn is up in the booth, Vic Fangio's up in the booth. These guys are two of the better defensive coordinators in the game. So it's not like Steve, being up in the booth was something that was special to Steve. There are other coordinators around the league that have been up in the booth. But obviously after some discussion and some huddling between Shanahan and Wilks, possibly involving some of the players, possibly involving some of the other defensive staff members. We'll know more tomorrow when we talk to Steve, that the 49ers have made a decision that they think that this might be an improvement. So I think it's really, really interesting from the standpoint of I would want Steve to be where Steve's most comfortable, because if I'm going to hold somebody's feet to the fire over the results, I want them to be comfortable with how they diagnose the problem. But if the players feel like the community, the one thing about the 49ers is the way they've done it is in the recent past with these players, D'Amico Ryans has been on the field. He's been on the sideline. And Robert Saleh was on the sideline. And the ability to talk to the linebackers on that second level, is obviously a big key. So, I think it's really interesting they're going to make this switch. Shanahan did not speak as to how Steve personally feels about it. It may not matter how Steve feels about it, to be totally honest. It may just be about streamlining the communication. It may be about as simple as trying something new. So that's what we're going to see this week, is we're going to see Steve on the field for the game Sunday in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. And let's make no mistake about it, this is a very important game for the 49ers. The Niners are adding Chase Young to their defensive line. They're going to try to get home on Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence gets rid of the ball as fast as almost any quarterback in football. And so the coverage has to be coordinated with the rush. I asked Nick Bosa, I said, Nick, in the locker room today, I said, Nick, give me an update on, how do you affect the quarterback when he is getting rid of the ball so quickly. And Nick said, hey, look, first you got to stop the run, then you got to stuff the screen game, you got to stuff the RPO game, you got to stuff the quick game, and you got to make the quarterback play the position from the pocket. And then you can go hunt the quarterback. But it starts with stopping the run. And the 49ers have not done a great job in the last month stopping the run. Joe Mixon, the Bengals rolled in with the worst rushing attack in pro football and ran for 5.4 a carry. The 49ers have gone from the top of the NFL at stopping the run to nearly the bottom of the NFL at stopping the run when you look at the EPA numbers. So it's time for them to switch it up. It's time for them to try something new. They have to stop the run. Everything on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL begins with stopping the run. So they've got to stop the run. Then they've got to get the quarterback into third and long. When they get the quarterback into third and long, it's not just about the rush. It's about a rush and a coordinated coverage behind it. Whether that coverage is zone or man, it's going to have to be hugged up and challenging the Jaguars at the line of scrimmage. The one thing from watching the All-22 of Jaguars-Steelers, what was abundantly clear to me is that Evan Engram has a lot of speed at tight end, and they throw the ball underneath to him quite a bit. He had 10 receptions against the Steelers, and he's a big part of their short passing game. They also have, Calvin Ridley, a guy who can get down the field. They have some speed on the perimeter, but Trevor Lawrence is getting the ball out fast. And so it's going to be about stopping Etienne, the running back, who averages 3.9 a carry. It's going to be about hugging up on the coverage, whether it be zone or man, and taking away the stuff in front of you and challenging them a little bit more. That means you got to be really good against the run. You got to be really good against the RPO and the quick game, and you got to force you got to put more pressure on first and second down on Lawrence on the short stuff right around the line of scrimmage. You got to challenge him more aggressively on first and second down, and then you got to get him into third and long, and that's when you rush the quarterback and really get him on the ground. So very interesting day down here in Santa Clara on that front. The fact that Steve Wilks will now be not in the box, but actually on the sideline. Now, that wasn't the only revelation from today. There were more stories as well. The other one is that Trent Williams' knee, or ankle, I should say, is not healing at the speed that they had hoped. And so there's some unknown status there. He had previous ankle injuries, and they're not loving what they're seeing so far. So his status for this weekend is kind of very much up in the air. We don't know exactly if what his deal's going to be. Shanahan said that clearly he's had other ankle injuries, and they're going to have to take it as it goes this week. I did talk to Jalen Moore in the locker room right before practice, and he said he's ready to roll. He's ready to roll at left tackle. And, left tackle means you're going against Josh Allen, who's one of the NFL's better rushers. I also talked to Colton McKivitz. He was telling me that Trayvon Walker, his main assignment in this game, he's the former first pick in the draft, and then he's got great strength, and that he leans on the bull rush a lot. McKivitz against Trayvon Walker is one of the key matchups to look for in this thing. Aaron Banks is out with the turf toe. He remains out. I talked to John Feliciano in the locker room. He's ready to play at left guard this week. I asked him, hey, where's your experience mostly? And he said, hey, I've played left guard and right guard more than I've played center. So Feliciano is going to slide in for Banks at left guard. Drake Jackson's got a knee injury. He's limited in practice today. Ray McLeod's got an illness, so he's not going to go today. Shanahan made it perfectly clear that, hey, the Niners have lost 3 in a row, and it's a one-game season, and against a really good Jacksonville team, they're going to have their hands full. Today, by the way, is Chase Young's first full practice. Shanahan indicated he's going to have a significant role in the game on Sunday. Shanahan was also asked about Darrell Luter Jr. and Robert Beal Jr., and he said, hey, man, these are 2 really good players who we really liked in the draft. We're excited to get them back, and we're going to figure out in the next 3 weeks whether they can be activated and help the team. He also said that the bye week has conserved the players' energy. I asked him, is there any way that you can inject more speed into the lineup? He's like, you got any ideas? I said, hey, how about Danny Gray? He laughed and said, well, that's one guy. But he said that overall, the 49ers team speed was really surprisingly poor against Cincinnati, but that his team looks fresher and faster after a week off. This is also a huge game for the 49ers, because this, as Shanahan indicated, is going to be the first of 3 games in 12 days. So the 49ers, badly need a win, badly want to win, and this is a grueling stretch. So he was also asked today if he practices the 2-minute drill. He said, no, we don't practice the 2-minute drill. He says nobody around the league really does. So there you go. There's the report from Santa Clara today. The big story, Steve Wilks leaves the booth and will be on the sideline for Niners-Jaguars Sunday in Jacksonville. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.